Welcome to the Scale Up Valley podcast, where we bring the best founders and investors to help you scale a business from 1 million to 1 trillion. This guest is a very special one. Her name is Laura Constantini, the co-founder at Astella. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited for our conversation.
Likewise, and it's incredible to see that you have been involved in the tech ecosystem, and you started Astella in 2008, so 14 years ago. I started Scale Up Valley in 2013, and it was kind of the beginning of the ecosystem. And we see the booming of Latam. You are based in Brazil. You run one of the most well-known funds in Brazil, Astella. And it's incredible to see how early you started to leverage this wave of entrepreneurship and tech, and even creating the movement in Latam. But for the ones who didn't have the pleasure to get to know you, it would be great if you can give us an overview about what you've been doing.
Absolutely. And indeed, I mean, looking backwards, it might have been too early to start, and I will tell you why, and I'll give you a little bit of our background. um, eh, I was working at the financial markets. I was an equity research for telcos, and that's how I met Edson, my partner. He was working at Lucent Technologies, and basically our approach and how we started to engage and basically become friends and then to build a partnership was because him at Lucent, that was a supplier of technology for networks, could give me some hints of how the network and telecom networks and the entire technology could evolve. Because my biggest concern as an analyst would be how to project technology adoption, or how far could penetration go in terms of landlines, backbones, and mobile. And that was my biggest pain point, because at that time, when I started in the financial markets, the Brazilian telecom system was being privatized. And since a lot of our effort would be then put into marketing and sales to grow the networks, I wanted to understand what would be the dynamics of growth and technology adoption. And that's how we created our friendship and partnership. So so when we saw like a very early signs of an innovation ecosystem in Brazil, and we started to talk to the entrepreneurs to understand what they were building, mindset, and so forth. Two things came up or struck us. First one was that how interesting a mindset of entrepreneurs were, and their ideas or their how meaningful they were in terms of building something that would cause an impact or would do something for the society, and also that everything was so nascent that maybe we could help those guys, and maybe we could build a business out of it. And that's how we started. I mean, the entire idea that we actually tried to figure out was how to build a business, sustainable business, considering our expertise and considering the nascent ecosystem. And the point is, coming to your introduction, was that it was so nascent that it took a long time for us to understand our own business model or economics, I would say.
Right.
So, but still, we were actually pretty much engaged into the ecosystem. Endeavor had arrived in Brazil in 2008 or 2009, so everything seemed to make sense to us. So and we kept trying and at the beginning, what we had to do was that because investors had very few knowledge of how venture capital worked, and also they didn't. Some of them that understood the dynamics of venture capital were in doubt if Brazil could be a fertile ground to venture capital. So we couldn't raise, and that's why we had to bootstrap. We had to invest our own money in our first vehicle, so that we could. We say that we could prove our capability of creating value and investing, but at the end of the day, it was also that we had to wait for the maturity of the market. So.
The importance of timing, the importance of persistence, and also kind of bootstrapping, building your MVP with your own money before being able to raise a larger amount of funds. We have been covering a lot here on the show, and a little bit more the venture capital side and what it takes to build a fund. It's not an easy process for the ones. We've gone through that, and definitely it's also an entrepreneurial journey, as you said, to build out a business of supporting others to be successful and making the founders successful and the investors that invest in the fund successful at the same time. That's the way of being able to raise a second and third and having more and more impact in the ecosystem, right? It's not an easy journey.
Not at all. And when you start with very few money or no money,
and lack of knowledge, as you said, and lack of appetite for that kind of asset class, right? And investors not understanding very well what is venture capital about. And being open to allocate part of their capital in this asset class.
Totally, yeah. So that's why we had to build our value proposition. Like, it had to be a strong one to founders, so that we could aggregate founders, and we could actually start understanding the viability and the dynamics of the entire ecosystem through the lenses or through the relationship with founders at the beginning, and then trying to sell to investors. So that's what we did.
And now let's kind of do a jump of kind of 15 years after 2008. Let's jump into 2022. What is Astella today? What is the value proposition? What is the thesis, etc., etc.?
That's interesting. That's a very good question. So actually, I mean, the entire idea of creating Astella came because we actually felt in love with the entrepreneur mindset and how we could actually engage with these guys and build a business around this ecosystem, and build business around the idea of helping founders to thrive. So considering our passion and our willingness to build something to founders, our positioning has always been as value creators whatsoever. So at the beginning, we understood that because we were on a very scarce environment in terms of our resources, the more we could help founders to grow with efficiency, the better, because they would prove their business model, and they would also survive longer. So we dig into go-to-market strategy and and sales strategies, so that we could help founders to build their own processes. And that's how we started, with the idea of bringing knowledge, bringing efficiency, more on a way of exchanging ideas and helping to build, than being, the only source, I would say, because the way that innovation is built is hard to figure out the way. You have to test a lot of hypotheses. You have to build a process of building the projects and processes by interacting with users and clients. So our idea was exactly to be like a source of let's say knowledge, and someone that could exchange ideas with founders on their way of figuring out what they had to figure out to be sustainable. So that's how we started to position ourselves, and that's how we actually aimed to be recognized as. And then, I mean, we did our first investments in a moment that resources were very, very scarce. So indeed, valuation was not an issue. I mean, obviously, you have to figure out what would be like the valuation, or what kind of a stake you would it would be fair to grab because of our investments. But it was actually not an issue, because it was practically us and only us to invest on the startups. But then when we started investing and other players came into the market, we understood that understanding how we could value the rounds and the size of the rounds were significantly important, because it was very tough it is very tough when founders raise a small amount of money, or a smaller round, and then it stays like on the limbo without. It's not on the prior round, but it didn't get to the milestones of the next one. So what should founders do? So this limbo is tough. And also, giving too much money to founders is a way of incentivizing inefficiency. So we started to look for ways, or to build a process so that we could understand what could be like the ideal round size, and then this created another bunch of knowledge for us, because the ideal round size is related to the milestones that of each round, and it is related also to a level of maturity of processes. So basically, what we started to understand, going, I mean, from the starting point of understanding how we could value a round, was that there is an archetype of the entrepreneur journey, and that we could map and we could measure the rounds throughout the lenses of milestone, effort, and timing for arriving into the next moment, or the next round. So and this was very enlightening, because not only it could show us where founders were in terms of maturity, and in terms of perspective of raising the next round, but also, I mean, if you compare the very, very well succeeded companies into the same space, you could see that if the company that we were analyzing would deserve a premium or a discount. so that we could arrive at a rule or into a rule of thumb for valuation in a certain point. So and that's why we brought the second, I would say, principles, or the second pillar of our positioning, which is the value investing, which is basically, if I mean, everybody, when think about value investing, think about DCF, the discounted free cash flow. And basically, if you cannot apply this to a startup, you have to find another way to compare, to value the assets. And this is pretty much related to how you compare the opportunities that we were analyzing to a base rate. That is actually this map that we created, that we call the base rate methodology. So that's how we started to interact with our own dilemmas and creating ways of getting out of it on a healthier way, you know. So so those are the two main pillars of our positioning.
Right. So in other words, this kind of helping founders go from 0 to 1 or find product market fit through a structured process, which was something that was not very available. We might think that business model canvas, lean startup are tools that are much more, are not so old as we think, right? So this came maybe in the 2010s part of the last decade, right? So it's not something that has been there forever. So, and there was not a lot of investors that were able to support entrepreneur through that journey, and at the same time being a little bit also more thoughtful about how to understand what is the size of the round that we'll be able to get from, let's say, from pre-seed to seed, or from angel to seed, from seed to Series A. What are the milestones that we need to achieve, and what are the methodologies, and helping the founder to go through that process when the information was almost not available at the time. We need to kind of, you needed to build a playbook, especially for Brazil, right? In other words.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and actually, I mean, if you think about how information is available and how knowledge is available, and was available at that time, I mean, obviously you could read about what the VCs were doing in the US. You could research about benchmarks and everything. But it is very, very time consuming to build like a comprehensive library or of knowledge that could supply the needs of founders with different business models, different stages, and actually also for founders per se, when they are there, you know, trying to figure out their daily challenges. It is tough for them to stop and to think about how they could bring knowledge or bring benchmarks, of what kind of benchmarks. So having someone to organize the entire discovery of the ideal pattern of growth, or the ideal journey, is indeed I mean, looking and remembering what the founders, the kind of feedback that we received from founders was exactly that. Well, it was so time consuming for us to bring all this information that you brought, that was actually tailor-made for these guys, you know, because that's all what our value proposition was. So and indeed it had a lot of value, and when time passed, and we actually created our own experience of what we've seen that worked and what we've seen that didn't work,
even better,
and bringing real examples of how we experienced all of this besides those founders, that was priceless. So the flywheel would be even stronger, you know.
And the same happened in a certain way in Europe. So it's a different culture. Even every single country has a different culture, different stages of maturity of the different ecosystems. So if we try to apply straight away what the information that we consume from the US, it might be a nightmare. And same in Southeast Asia, same in Latam, same in Brazil. So we need to be able to adapt that knowledge to the local community and to the local standards, and definitely we can be super confused if we talk, especially at the time, if we talk with 2 or 3 different people, they will tell completely different stuff, and founders would be completely also lost in who should I trust, right? So it's very important to have someone that has a reputation and that knows what they are talking about, especially at the time. And what is the thesis of Astella?
Great. We are early stage investors. So we've invest pre-seed, seed, and Series A. We do half of the funds are for follow-ons. So part of our thesis is to build a base of bets and then concentrate the resources into those bets. So our theses are really concerning how how we think that those business models fit to the needs that those founders are pretending to work on. I.e., we understand what is the size of the problem that these guys are trying to solve. So we do look a lot at how the team works and how the founder fit is implicit on the solution. Right. And then the 2 pillars of our thesis, that is the value creation and value investing, which is exactly the idea that we can nurture founders by helping them to grow, and then by understanding how the company works, what are the dynamics of the team, we can choose and select the virtuous cycles. And by investing on the virtual cycles, we can understand through our base rate lenses how the performance of those companies are evolving and how the team is maturing, so that we can understand if on the next round we should double down and we should concentrate our bets or not. And it also gives us a sense of when we should recommend founders to sell, either for an M&A. Listen, your value proposition is not complete. You're not finding it. So maybe merging with another startup, or maybe selling to an incumbent would make more sense for you. And those open conversations do happen a lot, because at the end of the day, if in our view, if we don't choose to double down, we should help founders to have a decent alternative, right, solution. So exactly. So that's those are our main thesis points.
Got it. Are you sector agnostic or any orientation in business model agnostic as well?
No, yeah, and that's interesting question, because we are agnostic, but we have different lenses. We have different ways to look at through the lenses of platforms. So SaaS is a platform. Marketplaces is also another kind of platform, and the direct-to-consumer business has other lenses. So when we say that we compare the trajectory or the journey of those companies, we do the comparisons through their consider their verticals, or the platform that they are working at. So we will compare SaaS with SaaS, we will compare marketplaces to marketplaces and so on.
Right. I was looking also a little bit to your portfolio at Astella, and I recognize that even Omi, I even remember when kind of Marcelo Lombardo started Omi, kind of the story. I think that we have also been in touch to host him on the podcast some years ago. I think that we never ended being able to. But would you like to highlight some of the portfolio companies that you have helped to nurture along the years with Astella?
Yeah. So Omi is for sure one of our cases. It was an interesting moment where he found product fit. We understood that he had a cohort of clients that were engaging and had like a very interesting dynamics with the ERP. But we were afraid of their marketing and sales strategy because it was too much dependent on marketing, digital marketing and Google advertising actually. So and one of another aspect of our investment thesis is that I forgot to mention, and I think it's now very interesting to mention on the context of Omi, is that we've tried to find companies that have a proprietary source of demand, which means that they don't depend on one source of leads or one source of demand, because whenever you get dependent on someone, the probability of you transferring value to this entity is huge, right? So what we when we started to engage with Marcelo, we understood the product fit, and we understood how special the product was, and also the founders fit, because they were Marcelo and his CTO were coming from a previous entrepreneur journey where they built a ERP for mid to large corporations. And they wanted, and the entire vision of Omi was created when they started to think that they could simplify a lot the ERP and the user experience to smaller companies and to entrepreneurs per se, and help those guys. And nobody was doing that. So founders fit were there, a product fit was there, and we were actually concerned about the market fit. And and then when we started to challenge Marcelo, listen, be dependent on Google is quite concerning because of the reasons that I mentioned to you. He recognized, so that he started to dig into his own customer base to understand where the most engaged clients were coming from, and then he figured out that those clients were coming from a reference from their accountants. And because the accountants had figured out that Omi could help the accountants on organizing the daily life of small companies that is actually chaotic, because those companies, they didn't even use Excel. They were using like the back of the envelope, literally. So imagine the accountant. And then he figured out that the accountants could be either a third party channel for him or a source of leads. And then the discovery was how they Omi could engage accountants to be part of their sales machine or their growth machine. And so and this was the beginning of everything. So it was really
You got
interesting.
involved with OMI at what stage? In seed stage or
We
series?
called seed, but it was actually pre-seed, because if you
Present,
think
got it.
about their moment and maturity, I mean, the product was pretty mature. They had built a lot because they were building while they were selling the other the other ERP. But the traction and the market fit was not there, so they were not growing as fast as they started to grow later on. So it was more of a pre-seed looking now, but we called seed actually.
And this is one of the examples, maybe one of the first successful companies of the ecosystem, right? So any other examples that you'd like to share along the years that you have been backing?
Yeah, more recently we started to invest in some marketplaces that came into the market, and this was also an interesting experience because we ended up digging into the dynamics of marketplaces, also to understand valuation and the main milestones for each round. So we invested in Cayena, that is doing very well, growing really fast. We also did some GovTech investments, and one of them, a Prova Digital, is doing quite well as well. Those are interesting theses as well. We invested in one agri-tech marketplace that is called Thrive, that is also doing very, very well. And Thrive is a fintech marketplace for to bring liquidity to the entire credit chain in Brazil. And if you think that agriculture is 1/3 of our GDP, and if you think that financial services unlocked a lot of value and opportunity in Brazil after open banking and after all the central bank created, Thrive is interesting because it is on the edge of this two spaces, and also solving a huge pain point that is financing the crops, and how the dynamics of this financing happens in Brazil is through a sales channel that sells products to the agricultural businesses. So, and they ended up leveraging their balance sheets, that ended up leveraging the balance sheet of the industry, like on the likes of Syngenta, buyers, and so on. So Thrive comes to bring liquidity and to take all this credit that are good assets to the financial markets. So then the financial markets can deal with it in terms of how they would score and expect a return for them. And then the industry and the sales channels would do whatever they are prepared to do, that are selling stuff for the agriculturers. So Thrive is also quite interesting in terms of business case and how it comes to the Brazilian market on an interesting timing. So
And in a perspective of kind of value investment and value creation, what is the approach of Astella for kind of investing in a PowerPoint? Would you like more to see a MVP and early traction, or are you more willing to invest when you see a good narrative and founder market fit, when there is almost nothing than just some validation?
Yeah, very seldom we invest on PowerPoint, but very seldom. We did it, and we would do, if we know the founders very well. So let's say that let's say as an example that Marcelo from OMI exits OMI on a very successful IPO or M&A whatsoever, and that he comes back to the market to build something new. We would definitely back him on the PowerPoint stage. And that was the case of some of the cases of PowerPoint investments that we did, because we would understand the founders fit, we would understand the execution capability of that team.
Makes sense.
We know how the founders think and the process of customer discovery and dealing with hypotheses were. So that's the main the key aspect of investing on PowerPoints or not. But then being like the second check on the pre-seed, so that the founders have the product, the MVP, and it is trying to arrive on the product market fit, and trying to understand what is the sales channel that will drive growth. Then we would we like, and we've done a lot the pre-seed. And seed is our sweet spot, because then when you have a clarity of product market fit, and the main challenge is to come up with the distribution channel or the go-to-market strategy, then it's where we love to help, and we love to bring insights to the journey. So yeah, I mean,
great point. You are also recently board member of Endeavor Brazil. So as we discussed, you have been almost since the beginning of the ecosystem, one of the oldest funds in Brazil. So you have a great helicopter view about the challenges and the evolution of the Brazilian ecosystem, and even of the LATAM ecosystem. So how do you see it today, and how do you see it evolving into the future? What is your what are kind of your view of the future for Brazil and for the LATAM region in terms of investment?
We think that the ecosystem is here to stay and might continue to grow and become even stronger. We have a virtual cycle, I would say, that it is how those entrepreneurs and founders inspire others to come to the market, and also they also come for their second and third journeys, and this actually investors were also interested on understanding those dynamics, and understood that this could be an interesting ecosystem. So we now have founders, experienced founders, a very inspirational entrepreneur mindset to the entire country, plus financial resources throughout the chain and throughout the series. We have a strong M&A and exit market in Brazil. So if we consider the volume of transactions between $100 million to $500-600 million, the market is quite liquid, and there is the concern of incumbents innovating, so they do see M&A as part of a strategy of bringing innovation. Also, the entire ecosystem merging companies to grow inorganically. So I do see the elements needed for a healthy ecosystem in place, and in fact, if you think about the inspirational part, the amount of teams that comes out of the
Right.
larger startups or the larger tech companies and create their own
New bank, Quinto Andar,
yeah,
etc.
that is
Mhm.
what we call the mafia tax.
Exactly.
It's huge. I mean, Rappi in Latin America already created more than 100 new teams out of
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
So it's impressive, and this is a very good sign of a robust ecosystem.
Ecosystem. That's great. I definitely see it, and it's great also to see even David Veles in so many companies as a super angel, for instance, and of course the founders of Rappi as well. Even the same with Sergio from Creditas, and so many other founders that I'm not mentioning, but that are already investing in the future generations, and a lot of them, as you said, are operators in their own companies that are now building their own ventures and are backed by them. Cool. We have also covered a bit about your value investment framework and how you try to build kind of free archetype archetypes for SaaS marketplace and D2C. I know that you also built an amazing content machine that is also available on your website. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that? What is available, etc.?
About what? Sorry, I couldn't.
The content, your content machine.
The content
Yeah.
machine. Awesome. Okay. That's interesting. So our content machine has actually three pillars. So one we call the matrix, which is actually our matrix of content, which is indeed understanding this ideal or this perfect journey for a startup, and understanding what are the challenges and bringing benchmarks and or hypotheses of how those challenges can be addressed. So basically, we could build content on an organized way because first of all, we had the map of this journey. So we started to build content describing this perfect journey. Then we would describe the challenges. So for each business model or each platform, what are the challenges for pre-seeds? What are the challenges for seed stage? Plus, what are the challenges for each type of go-to-market strategy? For example, what are the challenges for product building and this kind of things? Yeah. So we started to create content describing the journey, describing the challenges, and bringing hypotheses of or benchmarks of how to address or ideas for overcome those challenges. So this is the what we call the matrix. Then we have the plot, which is actually the database that we use to compare the trajectories of each company. And we also show, I mean, in average, a SaaS company takes X amount of months for going from pre-seed to seed. The main challenges are X, Y, and Z, and the round size, average round size is X, and the average dilution for founders is Y. So then we bring like measurements for that, and we give founders an idea of speed to grow and valuation. And recently we created the Astella Expert Network, which is a network of experts that helps us to describe the playbooks or on a more complete and deeper ways, and to engage with founders. Basically, the idea of Astella Expert Network come because we understood that to grow asset under management, we would need to attract a larger number of companies, engage to a larger number of founders, plus invest on a larger number of companies. So basically, we were thinking of how we could scale our capability of value creation, of building content, of this kind of things. And the idea of building this network of experts was to scale our actions, actually.
That's great, and congratulations for that. It's very rare to see so very well thought art content. It's at astellainvest.com, the tab knowledge machine, and then you will have what Laura just described, the matrix, the plots, and the Astella expert network. This kind of information, as you said in the beginning, really helps for founders that are starting or that are in seed stage to understand what are the main challenges and how they can benchmark with other journeys. So great stuff. Congratulations for that as well.
Thanks. And actually, Mike, we are translating our content. So the recent track that we created on marketplaces is completely translated. So is also available for English-speaking founders.
Exactly. Awesome. That's really great. And so let's go into the last segment of the show, where I ask you a quick question and you give me a brief answer. And let's start with the first 3 self-reflective questions that we always ask to our guests. So number 1, if you'd have the opportunity to meet Laura in 2008 and talk with your younger self over a coffee, what advice would you offer to your younger Laura?
At that time, I was coming out of the financial market, so making mistake was very, very expensive, I would say. And that the biggest change on mindset from the entrepreneur ecosystem to the financial market is indeed how you can accept mistakes on your trajectory. So if I had someone by myself saying, get rid of it, don't be so hard on yourself and allow yourself to make mistakes, I would be much happier.
I imagine the frustration. I can see that you definitely had a very entrepreneurial spirit on building Astella and a lot of perseverance. What are you the most proud of on your journey so far?
It is simple, but it's not easy. I am proud of being able to conciliate family and work and on an entrepreneur journey, because I consider ourselves at Astella as entrepreneurs and founders, because our trajectory is very similar to the entrepreneur journey. So the products that we build, how we how we build for the 2 sides as a marketplace, founders and investors. So I'm really proud of being mindful to the 2 aspects of my life, and one being always integrating the other, because on my darkest hours, when I thought, what am I doing? Am I on the right track? I have 2 daughters. How should I think about them going forward? And what always came into my mind is that the examples that I was bringing to their lives of, that they could think that all of this is possible, or that if you have a passion of building something, you should definitely go ahead. It's not going to be easy. And that's one thing that is hard, because now that they are 16, 14 years old, they see the success, that they see Astella doing well, but they don't remember how hard it was, because they were very, and I was like, oh my God, how can I tell those kids that it's not that easy,
And it's incredible, because you kind of Astella was born almost in between both of them, right? So I'm not saying, I was thinking about the 15 years that we will do in January of 2023, right? So it's 14,
That's
15,
another
16. So
issue.
that's 3 kids, Laura.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another interesting point because and there were like moments of that I stopped to think it was if I was doing the right stuff because my younger daughter she was born premature and I mean her first year was very very hard. So at that year I I reflected several times if I was doing if I was really doing the right stuff to continue insisting on Astella. And at that beginning, we had no business model at Astella, so the odds that we would be successful weren't there. I mean, we didn't know, you know. So that was tough.
Wow, congratulations, amazing story. We could almost now stop here and start talking about that, but
Yeah,
let's go.
exactly.
That's why I always say we should start the show with these questions and then we double down on the using your analogy of the fun. Then you double down on those questions. Worst advice ever received.
I can't remember exactly a very bad advice, but it comes to my mind that it's always something that it is related to a suggestion that has not skin in the game. Like do it yourself. You have the skin and you put it on the game, but that it is clear that the person that is giving the suggestion or the advice wouldn't do it himself or herself. So and it's easy to figure out because it doesn't come from the heart. It doesn't come from a level of experience attached to it. So I mean, those are like, oh, that's bullshit. So those are the words
that and finally, the resources, your favorite book, business or non-business?
There is one book that is written by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Great
This
one.
is pretty keen for those that are willing to go for an entrepreneur's journey. I mean, you have to feel it from inside because otherwise the journey is so painful that that if you don't have a really meaningful goal in your life, you're not gonna do it.
Right.
So this is a call for for reflection.
Great analogy to what happens to Viktor Frankl and how he's able to survive through all the temptations. And for the ones who didn't read the book, please go there. And I think that it will also help you to go through your entrepreneurial journey because compared to that, it might be a little bit easier.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! And
favorite?
yeah, no, and how Victor describes the entire painful moments and journey that he had, right? And how he survived and compared to the others that didn't survive.
Right.
That's something that is really interesting. So yeah.
One of those books to read several times in different moments of life. Favorite movie or series, as you wish?
You know, I don't have like a kind of a favorite one that comes to my mind that would be like for life, but I am so impressed with a Netflix series that I just saw that's called Queen Loretta. It's the just like a very fast it's the life of a drag queen that early when he figured out that that he is gay, he moved to Paris. He abandoned the family and moved to Paris, and in Paris in Paris he creates his life and his job, and he become a drag queen, and then he has a call. Actually, a call to action that is for his journey his hero journey that starts when he's old by receiving this call from his granddaughter asking for a favor back in his city in Polonia, in Poland. And that's how the story goes. And I'm not gonna tell it because it's beautiful. It's amazing. It has like a 4 or 6 yeah, and you can and you're gonna be attached to it, and you're gonna see it one after the other.
Laura, we are doing an amazing job with the resources now. We are letting people super curious to go see the resources. And finally, your favorite podcast, excluding this one. And I know that you also have a very good one.
For sure. I am in love with what Lex Friedman is doing. He is amazing. A guy from a computer scientist from MIT, and he interviews, I mean, some so interesting people. I find hard to understand how he accesses all those people. But for example, he interviewed Noam Chomsky right after the burst of the Ukrainian war. And I mean, and he's a guy that is like a 32, 33 years old and a computer scientist.
Wow, well done.
Out of the network of Noam Chomsky. But at the end of the day, he's there interviewing Noam Chomsky. Very interesting. And then if you think about the other people that comes to his show is really, really interesting. So,
and of course, you also have 2 podcasts from Astella. I've listened to them. Of course, it's a challenge to keep them active, but there is a lot of resources also there. Laura, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for the opportunity. Such a nice conversation. I'm looking forward for the next ones.
Likewise. You. And it's curious to see that we hosted Isabel, partner at Canary, a fund that was created in 2017, and now Laura, co-founder of Astella and partner as well, a fund that was created in 2008. So we kind of have an overview of the ecosystem starting in different moments of time, and from 2 female investors, which is also something amazing to see more and more female investors in the ecosystem and playing a role and having an impact. And to our community, thanks for being on that side. As you see, we keep bringing you the best of the best to make your life a little bit easier from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and 10 to 100. See you soon and keep scaling.